Hey friends, Sunwarper here. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna do something a little bit different and figure out the setup and routing for my next live set. I recently have been doing a lot of music with the Digitakt and the SP in terms of beat making, but for all of my live sets, I've always stuck to pretty much the SP404 and sometimes that paired with the circuit tracks. But now I'm doing everything with MIDI sync, even with the rest of my Dawless setup. I've been using the circuit tracks for live looping because it's synced with the Digitakt via MIDI. So I'm almost thinking maybe do that. So first, I just kind of want to figure out how I'm going to do this for live sets. And I've got a couple of ideas with some songs that we've done on the channel. Basically, what I'm thinking is similar to my Koala and SP live set is kind of switch between tracks. So track one would be the Digitakt triggering all kinds of stuff with the SP and the circuit and all that. And then track two would be classic. Go with just the SP404, maybe even just a one-shot mode or moon meld where we've got these stems and then the full track here. And then just kind of keep going back and forth, switching up the sounds and things like that. So that's what I'm thinking right now. I actually started building a live set and I want to just kind of walk through that with you. And this song is on an upcoming video. I'll put a link up right where my head is basically if you want to check it out. It was from a live stream, but the video talks about how I finished the track, took this Dawless loop and put it into the DAW and added a bunch of stuff. And now I'm trying to figure out all of the things I embellished with in the DAW. How am I going to take that and do it with a much pared back setup? So let me go to the track. The way I'm going to use the Digitakt is I'm going to do a song mode. So I don't have the sheet in front of me where I traced out the song, but we'll do just that. Put in the B section. So let me just play the song briefly, really quick, a little bit of it. And then I want to explain the kind of two possible methods I could use to bring this from the DAW version, that's the final version, back into the Dawless setup. So let's just check out the song. And I'm gonna use patterns so I can drop out things when I want to. There's the bass. I've got the MS1 triggered by the circuit tracks doing the arpeggio that I added in the DAW. I've also got a sound I built in the circuit doing some synth. So there's two ways I could see replicating all of the intricacies we made in the DAW for this track. The first one would be just taking all of those added MIDI elements and putting it as stems or samples on the SP404. That's one way to do it. I did it with Radiant Visage live set and previous live sets, but I'm thinking I'd much rather do it in the way that I showed while we were playing this song, where just replicate as much as I can using live instruments like the circuit tracks and the Digitakt. So from that song, which uses this whole Dawless setup, I think have some breathing room because this is a very, as you saw, very ambitious performance type because I'm trying to go between analog synths, the circuit, which is triggering some patterns, and then the Elektron, which is triggering patterns that I'm controlling, start and stop and stuff. The SP is being controlled by MIDI here, so I don't have to worry much about the pads, but I'm trying to do effects on top of all this craziness. So it's a lot. So I only want to do maybe 2 songs in that method, and then in between those, I'm thinking 4 tracks, by the way, 4 to 5 tracks. And in between those 2 very ambitious versions, stick with what's known. So 2 songs that I have just all on the SP. So I'm thinking as that song ends, which I'll have to figure out the transition, but we'll get there, start moon meld. And then this song is largely on a one shot on 13, I'm sorry. And then I have the pads for the performance part, but I can still do effects. So I can get that little breathing room. And we've talked about this performance type a couple times on the channel. So it's kind of like the bread and butter to get the best of both worlds of performing on the SP, but having that breathing room. So from there, I think we'll go to another track that's using this full Dawless setup. And this one is one that I made just recently on the channel. But see, what it requires is I'd probably have to do CC to fix this, MIDI CC routing, but I have to change the patterns on the Digitakt, but I also have to change the pattern on the circuit. It requires a lot of transitioning, so that takes away from doing the outro on the SP with effects, so I kind of have to figure that one out. But I think it'll work. The outro on this song, I'll just up the reverb, and then we bring in this song, and this is Void Variations, which is coming out with that first song, Chroma Prism. I'll have a link in the description. So then we'll start with this song, and I just need to set it. What I'm thinking is, this song sounds good as is, but we need to set where we want all the sounds. So I have to mute certain sounds for starting on the circuit, which is what I'm doing now. And then on this, I want the song to start with that main pad muted. So I need to get out of the pattern, go to this, and I'll have to save the track like this. But basically what I'm doing, once Moon Meld ends, I'll be switching all the parameters and all that stuff. And then to start this song, starts with just rain. That'll be a nice, let that reverb run out on Moon Meld, and then just build. And then we can bring in the circuit. Which is what I'm doing here. Get back. Get the bass. That'll be Void Variations, and at the end of Void Variations, I play on the Erebus. So that gives me some flexibility. There's a few things I could do. I could loop something, live loop, perform the MIDI on the circuit for the Erebus, and just let that keep playing for a second while I transition, because the last track, we're gonna go back to the SP only. So I'm thinking, add some of that live looping. And again, we'll cut to the circuit in just a minute for the last little bit. I just want to go through kind of this setup, and then we'll go to that. So the last track is Sea Change, starts with ocean noise. Perfect, because I can put this to 0 on the volume, and as I live loop that Erebus, I can fade this in. And I could even maybe do a bus change or something like that. But with that, then we just bring in the guitars. Let me just make sure SX Reverb is on. And this is how I think we'd end the track and the set. Now I could add another song, but I kind of like this short little 4-track idea and testing the waters of doing a split sort of live set where it's upfront beats, at the end contemplative ambient type stuff. All right, let me move the camera and let's check out the circuit tracks, because this gets a little trippy. I just want to go through kind of how I'm imagining maybe doing a little live looping on top of this. So we'll get back to that Void Variations. All right, here we are with the circuit. We've got this live looping sort of setup that we can utilize. So we'll start, let's say the song is playing through and the pad is going. We're going to shut off that pad part on 8 on the Digitakt, and then maybe just build in some stuff. See what works. And then we're going to live loop. And then now it's set. You can see it's got these recordings. We can even add some delay. And I'm thinking we could just let this kind of ring out, add in the MS1. And we've got this generative part that's just gently playing. And then here, we'll start that ocean noise on the SP. And then I think just fade that out. Stop it, let that bass ring out. And we're gonna hit the SP once it stops. There we go. So I think we can actually make that transition work. So that's where I'm at as I start building this live set. I am in the very early days. I'm hoping to get this live set done in the next couple weeks, but I'm still, as you can see, planning it out. But I wanted to make this video, one, if you're looking into hardware setups for live performances, but also to kind of talk it through with you to figure out exactly what I'm looking to do with this live set. And I think now I've got it figured out. I really appreciate you hanging out with me going through this. Let me know if you found it helpful for your own live sets, and if you do something similar or completely different for your live sets, let me know. I'm always trying to see the different ways that these things can be done and incorporate different workflows. This will be a little stressful and it's pretty hectic for those two main tracks with the Digitakt and the full setup, but I think it could work really well. It just requires a little practice, but you know, that's okay. That's the beauty of live performance, is the practicing to get it right and then accepting all those crazy imperfections that happen. So I appreciate you hanging out, and thanks always for your support. It means a ton. Leave a like on the video. It just shows that you got value out of it and lets me know you like this type of content, and I'll see you next time.